Yeah, hi there. In this tutorial, we are going to cover dunders or special methods that are there in the Python. So in Python, method names that start with the leading and trailing double underscores are reserved for special use. Such methods are called as dunder methods or special methods. One such dunder method we have already seen at the time of creation of the classes init. So instead of calling these methods as double underscore init double underscore, what we do, we call it as dunder init. So, so the thing is, what makes them really special is that the naming convention is double underscore, the method name, and then double underscore. So why there is a hassle of wrapping these methods with double underscores at the start and the end? So actually, the choice of wrapping these functions with the double underscores on either side was really just a way of keeping the language simple. So the Python creators, they did not want to take away, those good names from us by making those names as reserve reserve words. So what they did, I think the simplest way was to just have a double underscore at the beginning and at the end. So in this way, these names follow the naming convention, and at the same time, they become special in a way that usually we would not name our methods like that. Okay, so couple of things to remember about the dunders. So instead of calling them as special methods, call them as dunders because there is nothing magical about them. Okay, or implement the dunders wherever it is required. It's a core Python feature and it should be used wherever needed. And try not to invent your own dunders. It's not encouraged because you would not want your programs to collide, with the other already predefined names. So just be careful while creating the dunders. So let's take an example. We have a class called person, and it has attributes name, age, and gender, which are uh, initialized in the init method, or we should say dunder init method. Okay, so self dot name, self dot age, and self dot gender to the values which are passed at the time of initialization. Now let's say we create an object of this or instance of this person as p1, and we pass these values, name, age, and gender. And if we print p1, just simply say print p1, then in the output you would see something like this. It says main person object at this. So it tells that okay, this object belongs to the class person, and it is in some memory location, and this is a memory location. That's it. It doesn't tell anything, it doesn't tell you any specific information about this particular object, which as a user we can understand. We know that okay, this is an object of person class, and it's there in memory. That is fine, but what are its value? Or it's not a user friendly output. So what we have to do, we have to create the string representation of such object. So there are two dunders. One is dunder str and dunder repr. So whenever I say dunder str, it means you should understand it as double underscore str double underscore, and similarly dunder repr means double underscore repr double underscore. So basically dunder is used um, to replace that double underscore at the beginning and at the trailing. Okay, so we created the two dunders in the, so again in the same person class we have init method with the name, age, and gender as the attributes, and we are creating two dunders. One is dunder str and dunder repr. So as we know, in any instance method, the first parameter is the self. So this is what we have in both these methods. So for str, what we are doing, we are returning a string which is in this form. Self dot name is this gender, and of age self dot age. And for repr, what we are doing, we are returning it as in the like this person, and within bracket we are returning the values. So there is a difference between STR and REPR, which we'll cover in detail later. So basically, at a high level, so STR is used for more readable representation of the object, and it is meant for the end users. Whereas REPR is more of a a technical implementation of the technical represent technical string representation of the object, and it is mostly used for debugging and logging purpose, and it is meant for the developers. That's a basic difference at the high level. We'll cover more bit later. So let's see, we have a person P1 created with these with the name, age and gender, and we are printing P1 now. Now if I print P1, we get like this. So name of the person is Amit Patel, is male and of age 32. Okay. Now, if you see in the earlier case when we were printing P1, we were getting this uh, that memory location and the class. Now, what we have done, uh, we have specified these dunders under dunder str and under repr. Now, what we are getting is the output based on this string, based on this dunder str method. Okay. Now we can also call these methods directly if you want to. Let's say if I'm calling REPR P1 and STR P1, we get the output like this for REPR and for STR. In REPR, what we are getting is the output like this: person, name, age, and gender. And for STR, we are calling explicitly STR method with P1 as the object. So what happens when we are calling these REPR and STR methods? They actually call internally, they call the dunder rep, it calls dunder repr, and for str method it calls dunder str method. That is why the output that you see here is exactly what we had specified in the dunder return definition. Okay. So okay, so I was just talking about the key difference between str and repr. So so basically these two are used to do the string conversion that we know. Now REPR comes, it's like more of an official representation of the object. It has more detailed information. STR is like an informal representation of the string, and it is mostly used for the end users, that is the consumers. Now, thing is, if we don't add dunder str method, then what happens? Python, and if we want to convert the object to the string, then what happens? Python fallbacks on the result of the dunder repr. So what we should do, we should at least specify dunder repr in our class. So that's the recommended. Okay, now another dunder that we know is add. For example, if you add two numbers, okay, then you get their sum, and if you add two strings, then you see that you get the string as concatenated, even though it's the same operation that you're performing, like plus. But for the integer, it's an addition. For the string, it's a concatenation. So how does it happen? So again, it happens based on this dunder. So what happens in the int class? There is a dunder specified as add, and similarly in the string class there is a dunder specified as add. And let's say if I so what happens when we call the integer addition? It calls the integers class dunder add, and when we try to add two strings, it calls string class add dunder. One way is we can directly call those dunders. So what we can do, we can say the name of the class int dot dunder add, and we are passing the values 1 comma 2. Similarly, if I want to call the dunder add of string class, then I'll say str dot dunder add and the value a comma b, for example. So in the output, if you see, for the string, for integer I'm getting the sum as 3, and for string I'm just getting the concatenation. So similarly, we can add this dunder add in our person class. Let's say we have a class person in which we are, again, other things are same, like dunder init, str and repr, which we have already covered just now. Let's say we want to add dunder add in it. What we want to do is, whenever we are adding to person, we want to return the sum of their age. Okay, so s- since this is a since we want to return the sum of the age, so we have to specify the logic, like whenever we are adding two persons, then what logic should run in the back end to return the sum. So that logic we have to specify in the dunder method. So again we are specifying method like this: def and under add self comma other. So self represents one object and other represents the other object which we are trying to add, and it will return self dot age plus other dot age, since both will be of uh, person type and both will be having the age, so we are adding their age and returning it. So if you see here, we have person P1 with age 32 and we have person P2 with age 28, and if we are adding P1 and P2, we get the sum of their age. So this is what we are getting, adding Amit Patel male of 32 years and Karthik Aryan male of 22 years, then we get 60. So 60 is the sum of their ages. 32 plus 28 is 60. So in this way, we can what we have done just now, we have specified our own dunder add, which is uh, uh, to add the two persons each. Now another dunder that we have specified here is length. So as we know, length is used to calculate the for example, length of a string is to calculate the number of characters in the string. Let's say we want to add a dunder length for this class person, in which when we call this length, it should return the length of the name of the person. So how do we do this? Again, we specify def dunder length. Self represents the object itself, and it will return length of self dot name. And if I am just printing length, and if I'm calling len p1, what it will do, it will, so this len method will call this dunder length, and it will return the length of this object's name, p1's name. So if you see in the output, you will get length of Amit Patel m of 32 years is 10. This 10 is the number of characters which are present in this name Amit Patel. And if you see, this p1 is nothing but the string representation of p1, which we have already specified using the dunder str method. So in this way, we can use dunders, that is the magic methods or special methods, to display the information based on our custom classes that we create. We'll cover more on this a bit later. Thank you.